happened. Just a lot of sports stuff happened, and I'm glad to be able to be here and talk about all of it. There's a lot of stuff that happens, and I tend to watch it at home along with just the family, and I can't quite discuss it in the manner I like to.
Oh, why is that, young sir?
It's just not always the same type of conversation. I mean, my wife will reciprocate. My son will say something, not sure what he's saying. I'm pretty sure he's thinking the same thing to me, though.
Just say yes.
And he did, and that's what he has down now, yes, to everything I asked. So, it's cool. It's just I'm happy to talk. I'm here. Especially about this recent 61. But we'll get to that later on.
The recent 61.
Recent 61.
So,
Live all day.
I was just going to say, we currently have the Duke Central Florida game on right now. As you know, that is the second round game of the NCAA tournament. It is narrowing down to its Sweet 16. We have a few more contests later on this evening. U of H plays Ohio State later on this evening.
TNT.
North Carolina won their victory today. Tennessee almost gave their extremely large victory away. They were able to pull it out.
You said Tennessee?
I said Tennessee, man. They were able to pull it out in an overtime victory over Iowa.
Over who?
Iowa.
One more time for me?
Iowa.
Okay. You say that with a lot of...
Who else plays this evening? Who else plays this evening?
A bunch of teams. Actually, 8 games.
Does Virginia play this evening?
I believe so. We're on the Sweet 16 tip.
Yes, so we've got in the West, we've got Buffalo and Texas Tech, and then that's the rest of it for today.
Did he not double dribble? Watch this replay.
Taco always double.
Nah.
We got Liberty versus Virginia Tech coming up tonight at 6:30 or at 6:10
Nah, he just
on TBS.
He definitely doesn't have hands like I thought he would.
We've got Oregon, UC Irvine, and Oklahoma versus Virginia.
I think UC Irvine might beat Oregon this evening.
I don't know. Oregon, they'll play. They're pretty good, man. They don't play. They play to their competition.
They play to their competition.
Yeah.
UC Irvine, that was a very surprising victory for me. A lot of sources like newspapers and stuff, they seen it coming though. I don't know. I must not have been reading enough. Because a lot of them picked him. As a 13th seed, I wouldn't expect him to be here. But I digress. And the last game at 7, well not the last game, but at 7:40 tonight on TNT is U of H versus Ohio State.
Yes, indeed.
I'm very worried about that one.
Worried? Are you?
Definitely.
It's going to be a...
I didn't like the matchup.
They're going to have to be able to score.
What is the matchup?
Either one of the no, not at all.
Ohio State is trash.
Ohio State's not trash. Ohio State plays in the Big Ten.
So?
I think that people forget about those kinds of things.
Did you see Ohio State play this year?
Have you seen the Big Ten play?
Yeah, I have.
Big Ten has been...
Did you see the Ohio State
rather
Indiana
good
game?
this year?
Yeah,
Did you see the Ohio State Indiana game?
Yeah.
Who won that game?
Indiana.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But Indiana's also a Power 5
Shout out
team.
to IU.
Are they? Because
I think people...
No.
they're not a tournament team.
It really doesn't matter. Like, see, people... I was talking yesterday at a basketball tournament to Mr. Dirk Minifield.
Ah, that boy Dirk.
You know Dirk Minifield?
I know Dirk
From Kentucky from back in the game.
No,
Very popular dunk from back in the day. Well, anyway, he was coaching one of the teams. We were discussing this and discussing that U of H matchup. And he felt the same way I did. I didn't like the second round matchup, whether it be Iowa State or Ohio State. You have to understand, when you play in the AAC, okay, that's still very different from playing in one of the Power 5 conferences.
What's the difference between Ohio State and Cincinnati?
Huh?
Ohio State and Cincinnati, they're almost the same team. Difference is Cincinnati plays better defense than Ohio State does.
Oh yeah, and
Xavier.
personally for me, I think Cincinnati is still a team that's equipped to be a major team more so than U of H. If you watch U of H is very guard heavy. And U of H plays very well against teams that are guard heavy.
Yeah, but Cincinnati's gone.
Huh?
Cincinnati's out.
Yeah, Cincinnati's gone, but that's not because of U of H.
But what I'm saying
It's not U of H's fault. A lot of teams are gone.
U of H easily handled Cincinnati this year, and
They easily handled Cincinnati in the regular season. When it got to a tournament, they easily got beat.
Well, it's hard to beat anybody 3 times a year.
It definitely is. But what I'm saying is, I'm going to be rooting for the Cougars.
Go Cougars.
I'm an alum. But I didn't like the second round matchup with Iowa State or Ohio State.
I just think that's unnecessary hysteria. Now, what you should be
I don't think
concerned
they're
with is if they do go cold, it can become
What you mean, if?
it can become a very troublesome game.
I see it like this. If that boy, Davis Jr., the third, whatever his name is, if he needs to go off for 30. He needs to go off for 30.
No,
if he
man.
just has a mediocre 11-point game, it's not going to work, because then you're going to rely on the other people too much, and they can't shoot. They can only get 2s.
Okay, well, I see it like this.
How you see it?
I see a Power 5 conference team. I see a team that's full of 3 and 4 star, maybe even a 5-star recruit. I see another team that's full of transfers. And the cream always rises to the top when we get in this tournament. I'm sorry. And there's a reason why those major conference teams are usually there.
Yeah, but just because you're in a major conference doesn't make your team better than it is.
You have a better collection of players.
Defensively, U of H is a better team. The University of Houston is a better team.
Who's U of H played this year?
They played LSU.
Okay.
They played Cincinnati 3 times.
Okay.
They played Oregon.
Okay.
All of those teams are tournament teams.
And those games are in November.
Be that as it may.
What have you done for me lately? Who have you beaten lately? Who have you beaten lately?
They're in the second round of the NCAA tournament, man.
Which is fine. I understand that. But what
Ohio
I said
State
is,
got bounced in their Big Ten tournament.
I don't
Yeah,
understand why
they
we're
did.
being in the Big Ten, why that makes Ohio State better than they are. Just because they're in the Big Ten.
it doesn't make them better than
My
they
one
are.
question
They
is,
still
It makes them
beat
what
the
they
other
are.
team.
my
They're a
one
Big
question
Ten
would
team.
be, would you concede that there are bigger conferences for a reason?
Yes.
That
Yeah,
they're
but
better?
that don't mean every team in that conference is good. That's what I'm
Not
saying.
Every
Yes,
team.
but it means that top to bottom, their conference is better than you.
Yeah, but that don't mean the
Which
middle
means
teams
that-
in that conference are good teams.
Ohio State has not played a South Florida. Okay, Ohio State has not played a who else in the AAC? You even have a hard time mentioning who's in there. A UConn team that's not what they used to be.
This is true.
Okay, so 16-2 in the AAC, I think is roughly equivalent to 10-8 in the Big Ten.
But it's not though.
It
Because
definitely is.
if you're losing to the good teams in your conference, that doesn't make you a good team. That means you're just not good enough.
Yeah, you're not good enough maybe to be in that conference, but okay, first off, they still made the field. Okay, so they're good
Well,
enough to be in the
we
field.
all know how that goes.
All right.
That's subjective.
Okay, and that's why a conference champion, a team like, let's say, a Wolford, okay,
Who?
won the regular season and the tournament, and they still got a 7th seed. Still.
Well,
Okay, there's a
they took
reason
care of
why
their
we have
business.
those. Yeah, yes, that they took care of their business in their little conference, and that's all cute, and that's sweet. But if U of H wants to take the next step, U of H is going to have to keep winning games like this
They're
and
going
get
to
into
win.
a big
They're going
conference.
to win this evening.
Okay, hey.
I'm just saying the
I
hysteria
think they
to
may.
me. The
I didn't
hysteria
like the
is-
matchup. I didn't like the matchup whether it be Ohio
This
State
thing
or
ain't gonna
Iowa
help
State.
get to a bigger conference.
Say what?
No, it's going to be years and years of winning.
Bigger conference.
I don't think that. I mean, that's not really what it's about
They
right
got
now.
football.
I mean, we've seen teams win out of smaller conferences before. When UCLA won a national championship, they were coming out of not UCLA, excuse me, but UNLV won a national championship. They were coming out the West Coast Conference.
Well,
So I mean, we've seen that before.
No, they were coming out of the Big West.
The Big West,
But,
thank you. The
not to
Big
be
West.
semantical.
Because the WCC is.
The Big West
Yeah,
Conference.
the WCC is a bunch of Catholic schools, but it is.
Because that matters.
It doesn't matter. I'm just telling you, it's a bunch of private Catholic schools that don't play football.
That's
That's
mine,
the WCC. The Big West, the Big West. Okay, UNLV won out of the Big West back in 1990. Okay, that's almost 30 years ago. For those of you counting. Okay, and also that UNLV team, we can discuss how that UNLV team was assembled and how those
Yeah,
guys
I'm
came
just saying
together.
we've seen
But-
Butler make the national championship back to back.
We have.
We've seen I mean I can go even further than that, but folks ain't gonna believe me. We've seen teams like Penn make Jacksonville State, like they make the national
Jacksonville
championship.
State.
Yes, Jacksonville State when they had Artis Gilmore. Yeah.
Man, don't go back to 1951.
You messing with the boy? You talking to the stereo?
I understand you being this story, but you can't go back to that.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm
What
not
I'm
saying
saying
U
to
of H
you
will
is-
lose. I'm not saying they'll lose.
The conference
I'm
means
just saying
minimal.
The conference means everything,
It doesn't.
which is why the ACC had three
Because
number
that's
one
ridiculous.
seeds.
That's ridiculous.
So is
not
Gonzaga? So is Gonzaga really that?
Gonzaga's that
Thank you.
exception.
Gonzaga is the number one seed
You
coming out
can't
of
throw me exceptions.
What about
and make
Utah?
that the rule?
Remember the year St. Joseph did it?
Well, there's always an
Yeah,
exception.
you can't, exactly, there's always exceptions.
So that means
You
it's
as
a
a man
standard.
of science know that you can't throw an exception.
But if it's always
and
an
make it the rule.
exception, that's a standard.
No, it's not a standard. It's not a standard if one exception pops through out of 64 every year.
My position
Out
is
of every
simply,
year though?
if you're a
Yeah,
mediocre
and not
team,
even every year.
if you're a mediocre team in what is perceived to be a good conference, then you're not that good of a team. Just because your conference is tough, but you're not one of the good teams in that conference, that doesn't make you good.
Because all the Big 12 is bad.
It makes you better than a lot of people who aren't where you at.
'Cause all
So
the
now,
Big
for
12
example, what was that? Bryce Drew just went 0 in his conference schedule this year.
Bryce Drew.
Didn't win. I don't remember where he's coaching, but anyway, he didn't win a conference game.
Okay.
Oh, that was Vandy.
He's at Vanderbilt, right?
Yeah,
He's at. So would you consider the SEC a tough basketball conference?
most definitely.
So now,
Yeah,
if they were to still have a mediocre record in for whatever reason, if somehow, because I've seen crazier happen, if they had allowed them in the tournament, do you really think that they'd have been a threat because they were in the SEC and allowed to make the tournament?
No, but they wouldn't have gone defeated completely. They wouldn't have gone over in the AAC. That's what I'm telling you. They
Just
probably would
for
have won 8 games in the AAC.
just a little factual breakdown here. In the round of 64, not counting the next round, the Big Ten was 7-1. The loser was Wisconsin. The ACC was 5-2. Their losers was Louisville and Syracuse. SEC was 5-2. Loser was Mississippi State and Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Big 12 was 4-2. Losers K-State, Iowa State.
The ACC was defeated. I mean, was undefeated, right? The AAC.
The Pac-12 was 2-1. Loser was Arizona State. The AAC
was undefeated.
was 2-1.
Oh, who lost?
Cincinnati
Oh, yeah,
lost.
they lost
Cincinnati
yesterday.
lost, yeah.
Technically 2-4 because Temple lost in the first 4.
Right.
But they got 4 teams in.
the
The Big
AAC
East.
looking damn good right here,
The
though.
Big East
I was
was
gonna
1-2.
say, so now what does that say
at
with
best.
Central Florida playing within one game of the number one, with 1 point of the number 1 seed?
That shows Central Florida's doing very, very well.
But so what? That has nothing to do with their conference.
No, it has.
No, to me,
Actually,
that's
they're
the beauty
playing
of the
in spite of
tournament.
their conference.
This
This
is
is my
the beauty
point.
of
The
the
conference,
tournament.
In spite of their
the
conference.
conference means absolutely nothing. This is about how good the team
No,
is.
the
The conference
conference
ain't got nothing to do with nothing.
The conference is a great predictor
I don't
on how
want
that
to.
team
I don't want to be
is.
biased out there.
Okay, so-
Excuse me.
okay.
The WCC 1-1, and the
Oh,
OVC
and
1-1.
And that's because of Murray State.
That was a
the
3.
team in Ohio Valley.
With 3:52 left, UCF has taken the lead.
Yeah, they have.
Timeout Duke.
Now we were talking before the show
But
started.
if Duke loses this game, what does that mean for the ACC?
It means Duke lost.
So why all of a sudden it means
Your
Duke
ratings are
lost?
down.
So what if Virginia loses tonight? So what does that say about the
Virginia
ACC?
lost last year to a 16. It doesn't say much about the ACC.
So what's exactly my point? The conference ain't got nothing to do with
Yes,
nothing.
it does.
No, it does not, man.
Who will not tell you the ACC is not top to bottom a more powerful, a
They're
better
not.
league than the
Actually,
AAC?
they're not.
I told you, I think it's
That's correct.
ridiculous that they got 3 number 1 seeds because their 3 top teams are not the best 3 teams in the nation. They're not.
They weren't 1, 2, and 3.
They certainly were not. I think it's ridiculous.
They beat quality teams.
Who they beat?
They were ranked. Other teams in the ACC. You see Florida State?
Okay,
in the
they beat,
ACC?
that's my point. They beat quality teams.
Yes.
So if
Who
you
are
as
in
a
the
team,
ACC,
so-
U of H has not played nearly as many quality teams as anybody in the ACC because they're not in the ACC. They're not in the Big Ten. They're not in the SEC. Now we're getting happy because U of H beat 1 SEC school this year.
But
1.
Duke lost to a WCC team.
you saying
Okay.
one SEC team, but I'm saying it's tournament teams they beat this year. They beat tournament teams. So what does that say?
Which is great. All I said was I'm worried about that matchup.
But
I
I
don't
think
think
it's
that's a
unnecessary.
guarantee.
I think it's unnecessary.
It's not a guaranteed win. It's not.
Well, nothing is a guaranteed win. Look at Duke.
What are y'all? No.
CBS will shut down if Duke loses.
Boy, they gonna
I
be
understand.
mad.
I understand everything you're saying.
I
But
just
there's a
think-
reason why you have conferences rated. There's a reason why you have a Power 5.
That's crazy.
Okay? It's
I
not
think
crazy.
It has to deal with their money more than their team.
Yeah, their money attracts players.
Yeah.
And they have better players.
Ohio State is still mediocre.
Ohio State was-
Being from the Big Ten does not make them better than they are.
Ohio State could have won the AAC.
There's only two good teams.
They could have
in
won the
Big Ten.
AAC.
Yes, they could have.
Who?
Ohio State.
They would know because they're not gonna beat U of H. They couldn't have beaten U of H 3 times in a season.
They could have beat U of H once. You don't have to beat you don't have to beat the team 3 times in the season.
They
to win the
couldn't.
conference.
Yeah, you do.
No, you don't.
You got to at least beat them more than once. That you got to beat them. You
You
got
gotta
to
beat them
enough.
once. All you gotta do is beat the good team 1-1.
They couldn't beat.
Yeah, but then and you got to have to see them again in the tournament.
They couldn't beat
Okay,
Indiana.
so you got to beat them more than once.
Indiana could have won the AAC.
No.
Yes, they could have.
Indiana was trash this year.
Indiana was trash.
First off,
They
U of
played
H-
other Big Ten teams,
U of
and
H
they
is
played
in-
other major conference teams. They have the Big Ten ACC Challenge. They play in tournaments like that.
U of
And they
H
don't
is better
invite-
than
and they
U of
don't-
H and Cincinnati are better than you give them credit for.
Like I said, Cincinnati, I think, is still a major team.
And
And
the la-
they still get major recruits based off them being Cincinnati.
And I want to say the last time Ohio State was invited to the ACC Big Ten Challenge was when your boy Drunk Boy was playing.
Who was drunk boy?
Tall Greg Oden.
Okay,
So this shit.
Right, but
I literally had no idea where he was going with
I'm
that.
like, who are you talking about?
Must be so many people.
yeah,
Drunk boy.
and I never heard of him having an alcohol problem.
Oh, he had
That
Don't get
last
us
one,
sued.
he
I
got-
thought he was just
he had
accident prone.
No, he had alcohol.
I think that last thing about
Please-
him was
Please
drunk
put it
driver.
allegedly. Please put it
Listen,
allegedly.
what the boy say? Show this play.
Yeah, we worldwide, man. We got to do those
I'm
type
not
of
trying
things
to get
now.
sued.
I ain't scared. What? He gonna sue me for what? He gonna
Slander,
want me-
sir.
It ain't slander. It's the truth.
Well, let's change the subject so we don't just egg them off. You know what I'm saying? So, score is 72-70. 3 minutes left.
UCF is up.
Duke losing. Virginia Tech is beating Liberty as well.
Now,
Texas Tech beating Buffalo.
yeah. Buffalo was what? 31-3,
Oh,
God.
Oh,
and they're playing against the team from the Big 12. Since y'all can throw in these anomalies, they're playing the team from the Big 12,
Texas Tech is a good team.
and they're in the Big 12.
That ain't got nothing to do with being in
It
the
has
Big 12.
everything to do with being
It's
in the
because
Big
they're
12.
a good team.
Because they're in the Big 12.
Because Texas Tech is a good team.
Texas Tech wouldn't be a good team if
But
they
guess
weren't in
what?
the Big 12.
Oh, stop
But guess
it.
what? Buffalo's
Because they
losing.
wouldn't have these players.
Buffalo's losing though.
Precisely, they're losing.
So that means they wouldn't have done nothing in the Big 12.
Who, Buffalo?
Yes.
I never said they would have.
So
Buffalo's in the MAC.
Exactly.
I mean, I understand what
Exactly.
you're
Thank
trying
you
to
for
say.
making
You're
my
saying
point.
you're saying they're only recruiting those players because of their conference, and I'm saying no. That has to do with the individual teams. They ain't got nothing to do with the conferences. Now, yes, the conferences are attractive. Yes, the ACC is able to get better talent than other conferences because of their conference.
And that's all I'm saying.
But you're not.
We
But
can
that's,
end it there.
no, because it's based on an individual basis. Because the
Well-
number 1 seed is getting ready to lose.
Well, U of H gets recruited because of their coach, who has a pipeline to the NBA. Kelvin Sampson does have a pipeline to the NBA.
Sure.
So
But how many of you of H's players are going to the NBA?
it doesn't ma- hey,
Even on this team.
They don't really-
probably a few.
But you got to remember where they're
Two.
rebuilding from.
And he's
So
also
where were
got
they?
a
Where were
bunch of
they?
transfers.
Where were they 4 years ago?
Two's better than none.
I'm just saying the pipeline of the NBA, I ain't seen it yet.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
know.
I'm saying.
He's a
Truth be
coach.
told, up until a couple of years
Got
ago,
JT
Duke wasn't
all
putting
day
nobody
long.
in there either.
Duke not worth
nobody
quality.
with.
I said up until a couple of years ago.
Not
they
a couple
were-
years ago, like
they-
5.
The players who they were 5 years ago. U of H 5 years ago didn't have
And
Kelvin Sampson.
that was a 3-year stretch.
No, they wasn't no 3-year stretch.
And
They
they was
players
putting them
were-
in there
they
because
players
Josh
games were
Roberts
not-
and Greg Paulus both got drafted. Both made the list.
Here we
Who?
go. Greg Hollis again.
Josh McRoberts and Greg Paulus. Greg Paulus got
How
drafted.
long did they stay?
Or no, Greg Paulus didn't get drafted. He went to play college football.
Thank you, at
Would have got
Syracuse.
drafted.
He played at Syracuse.
And Josh McRoberts might still be playing.
You say he's
He's
wait.
playing
You
where
said
he's on the
Paulus
bench.
would have got drafted.
Yes.
If he would have got drafted, why he gonna play football?
Yeah, he wouldn't have got. That's
Because
why
he
he
was-
went to
but
That's
Seattle.
why he went and played football.
Yeah, that's why he
Because he
went
knew
to
he wasn't gonna get drafted.
We got second round pick.
And McRoberts is on the bench.
Second best player at Duke. What did
That's what I'm saying. Duke players' games ain't translating except for the superstars.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, let's be real.
Do I need to count down the amount of Duke?
I said
First off,
other
how do you
than
say
recent
other
years
than
ago,
superstar?
other than recent years ago,
Ain't
other
nobody's
than,
game gonna
other than
translate.
Kyrie Irving, Ingram,
Keep counting.
Keep
counting.
Who else? Kyrie Irving, Ingram. Who else? Oh, the one that trips everybody.
Both Plumleys.
Plum Dog Billionaire.
Both Plumleys.
One of them went to the military.
One of them was in Phoenix. But both of them got drafted. I don't care where they are now. Only one of them deserved to play in the NBA anyway.
Exactly.
Actually, none of them deserve.
Oh, you tripping. That boy Mason is a beast.
Is a
That boy got hops.
highlight.
And yeah, and a dunk on you highlight as well.
Okay.
What they call it?
Bro, I could like
trying
it
to
is
say
so
it
many
didn't touch the
players
rim.
in the NBA. I mean, from Duke in the NBA, brother. And
I mean, okay, yes,
but my thing is, if you're saying
Oh.
only stars deserve to make it. That's over that.
But I'm just saying,
That's
if
a
you
personal
if you-
option.
if
That
you
is the
talk about-
reason for the rule.
If you talk
Yeah,
about
that's
somebody
exactly.
sitting on the bench making the NBA, okay.
Right, that doesn't count.
No, I'm not talking
Like that.
about
I
Tyus
count.
Jones, who starts or who plays.
So
in the NBA.
you count Daniel Orton as a key player from Kentucky when he has never played a minute in the NBA, but he got drafted?
Is he in the NBA?
Probably not. I don't even think he's
Well,
still
If
in
he's
the
not in the
NBA.
NBA, he doesn't matter.
Okay, well, 32 teams. One of the 32 teams in the NBA thought, okay, let's take a chance on
With
it.
a guaranteed contract.
Yes, that matters.
Well, stop it, man. And no,
The
Daniel
man
Orton
has
did
a
not get
list
a guaranteed
of
contract
good
because he's a
players.
second round draft pick. But anyway,
You get a guaranteed contract.
just because you, I'm
Everybody
saying,
gets guaranteed
Everything's
contracts.
guaranteed in the NBA unless you come from
given an
Indiana, and that's
opportunity, and
guaranteed.
don't get me wrong, getting an opportunity in the NBA is way further than anything I've ever done. I'm not trying to dismiss that, but
No, of course.
being given an opportunity into the NBA does not mean that you were a.
All right.
Okay, stop
Here's a-
talking
here's
right
a
there
good-
because
here's-
there's 1% of the population that makes it into less than
Way less than
1%.
1%.
When there's
People
literally
start
75% of
Right,
the
but
population
1%.
trying to do this.
1% of the world is 7 feet tall anyway. So stop
Exactly.
it.
Everybody in
Exactly.
All right.
Stop it.
Let's play
You
this.
just made his point.
Like that is if you make it to be one of the I don't know, let's just say 500. I know it's not that many.
That wasn't
500 NBA players in a
15
season.
times 32. Do it real
That
quick. You
is.
score.
That wasn't our initial
That is
statement.
amazing.
Our initial statement was just because.
Come on, 15 times 32. Come on.
All right.
Yes, but I'm saying you
Put you on the spot.
I'm saying if you're at the bottom of the NBA, if you're the last player,
You're gonna be
you're
in
great.
this show
Go ahead.
Let's play this game.
Look at these
Let's play this game.
millennials. Or no, they're not even millennials. Look at these kids. Gotta pull the calculator out.
Let's play this game.
You want to
Name.
Back before I was old enough to drink out of that in my
Name the Duke players on the roster in the NBA.
You ain't got it. I'm messing with you.
Now let's ask the Duke fan this one.
This is the game. Name a Duke player.
Cause you know
on
I
the
can't
roster.
do it. I
Don't
can't
be
name
cheating.
4 of them.
Don't be cheating.
You want me to just name them off my top of my head?
Yes.
We talked about Grayson Allen.
Okay.
Marvin
Where he play?
Bagley
No,
was
where he
drafted.
play?
No,
Wait,
wait,
Matt.
let me just go through the
Marvin
team.
Bagley.
Let me
Oh,
go
that's
through the
right,
team.
Marvin
Bagley.
So we had the point guard on the team last year, or 2 years ago, Trey Jones, he's playing. We had Marvin Bagley, he's
Who?
playing.
Trey
Wendell
Jones?
Carter
Or
went to
Tyus Jones?
Chicago. Tyus, whatever. Went to Chicago. All 3 of them playing. I want to say Grayson Allen, that's 4 off of that team alone. That was 2 years ago, or 1 year ago, if I'm not
Tyus
mistaken.
Jones, Okafor,
Okafor still playing.
Kyrie. Does Luau Deng?
Kyrie
Because he
Irving,
technically
Luau
still
Deng
playing.
is back and forth. Mason Plumlee, like I said before. I would rather look up, brother.
I mean,
We're
you
just gonna
can-
look it up.
No, I mean, look.
And then give me the Arizona players that in the league still on the roster.
Hey, are you
Give me the Arizona players.
There's actually
Hey,
a lot of
okay,
roster.
Hold on,
There's a
hold
lot.
on. There's a nice segue from this argument. Speaking of
'Cause we have
Arizona
rings.
players, not basketball players, but Gronk.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he just
his
retired from
retirement.
the NFL
Oh,
after 9
man.
seasons.
Check our Instagram
Say
page
it
and
ain't
what
so,
we're doing.
Gronk. Hall of Famer? No,
Definitely.
right?
Yeah,
Most
he's
definitely.
He's a.
He's
Simply
all-
because of his position.
First
Simply
ballot
because
Hall
he
of
was
Fame.
a Patriot.
If he was a
And
wide
simply
receiver,
because of
now
his
he's won a lot of
I mean,
rings.
His production.
Yeah, he was
the best
successful.
offensive
No,
player
I didn't
on
really
5
like him, and he's
Four
of
He wasn't
a.
better than Tony Gonzalez.
He was.
He wasn't better than Antonio Gates.
He was.
He wasn't better than Shannon Sharp. He wasn't better.
He doesn't have to be better than them.
He's won more than every single one of them.
No. But you're naming Hall of
Wins
Famers.
don't make you a Hall of Famer.
Hold on. But you're naming Hall of
Rodney
Famers.
Hood.
Exactly.
Forgot about
naming Hall of
him.
Famers.
So what I'm saying is they bumped
Frank
him.
Jackson.
They bumped him from going.
No, he's equally as good as all of them.
Emil Jefferson
Oh,
was
yeah.
trash. He plays for the
He's equally as
Magic.
good as all
He
of
is
them.
not equal.
I did see Luke
Especially when he was
Kennard.
healthy.
Luke Kennard starts for Detroit. He ain't even really playing. I ain't even gonna count him. Jabari Parker. Ha! JJ Redick. How did I forget JJ the man?
Oh, yeah. He's
Don't get
good.
sucked into
Austin
this argument
Rivers.
about
No,
these
it's not
players.
even an argument anymore.
Do not
Jason
even get
Tatum.
into this.
Gary Trent
That's
Jr.
because-
I can't
Wait,
believe you
time out.
dignified
Testing
that
Wait,
way.
time out,
You're
time
singing
out.
about Duke players.
How'd you forget
I
about
hate
JJ
you,
Redick?
and I'm
That's
not
how
gonna take that away from
insignificant he is.
Okay, insignificant. He is literally the glue that stirs the process.
Look,
That's
man,
why they paid
very
that man
few-
more than any other team was willing to pay that
Hey,
man.
I think only Jalen Rose
Hey,
hates
this man-
Duke more than I
hey.
do, and I
Oh.
wouldn't take that away from him.
That was just 26 of the current players. I do have a list of the former
Like I
players.
said,
Hey,
that's
y'all
all
boys
Get
might
a
recent.
rebound, Taco.
That's always about
And that's
salute.
cool. We can take this L, bro. It
No, you
happens.
can't. You
It
can't
happens.
take-
My
Hold
bracket-
on, hold on. The shot clock is off.
My
dog.
bracket will be done.
Hold on, the
Hey,
shot
we might
clock
hit
is
it.
off.
Hey, Zion is about to stay in the league again.
And one. Did they call that? Yes,
They
they
had to
did.
call that.
Yes,
That
they
was
did.
called.
And he's out the game. So holla at you. Tell me what this OT looked like, Coach. You better hit this free throw.
That
You
was
better hit this free
OT,
throw.
whatever.
That's an offensive right there.
That is not offensive. He didn't push off.
That
He's
is-
bigger than them.
Time out,
He's
Let
Let me
me
see. Oh, nah, he flopped.
Time out, gentlemen.
The only reason why I wouldn't have given him a block because he slid out the way.
he,
He flopped.
bro, you better take that, son. Look at that. Don't come down and slap
And
him
then
back.
Taco had good
He could have
position.
stayed up, right?
What are you doing?
What are you doing? He's a taco. That's what he
Yeah.
We gonna talk about that.
I mean, he had. You know what?
I don't know.
I'm gonna say-
Referees kill me with that.
Verticality goes a long
Because
way.
I was looking at, I was looking at some of the footage we shot from
Mhm.
the top of the con, and too often they penalize the defensive player for standing still.
Well, hold on. Let me tell you this
Just
though.
because the offensive player throws his body into them and the defensive player happens to hit them,
Yeah.
being touched is not a foul.
No. I'm gonna tell you this about the refereeing we saw last week. Okay, with the exception of my ex-trainer,
Because they
who was the ref in there. There was some very bad officiating in the South Conference tournament.
He missed the free throw.
He hit the free throw.
He missed the free throw. That would have tied the game.
We
He
up
hit
one.
it. They're up by one.
No.
The bucket
Oh.
tied the game.
Oh, they were up by 3. How were they?
The
Oh.
bucket.
Oh, no,
You got a
Yes.
rebound. Somebody
And
got a
then-
rebound.
Taco silly
Oh
behind
yeah!
waiting there 'cause he
Oh
fouled
yeah!
out.
RJ, he pushed that
And they
dude
got
back.
the
He
putback.
pushed that dude right in the back. He really did. But guess what?
He
Referee
did.
called. He didn't push him. He just had a hand on the back.
He did.
Jump.
Hold on. In that situation,
He had
I
a
don't know
hand
if
on
you
the back
call
when he
that
jumped.
in.
You can't call that,
You gotta
cuz.
get tough.
You
man.
can't call that.
Wait, who asking for a foul about being pushed?
Well, pushed in the back. I mean,
TJ.
is that Johnny
I've
Walker's kid?
been trying to do it for
Well,
you.
well,
Didn't even say timeout.
this would be a good
time
time
out,
to do it,
gentlemen.
'cause we-
You are listening to the Garage Report.
Hey, anytime.
We're gonna hear each and every Sunday from 6 to 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out our brand new website, thegarageapt.com.
I say the garage, APT.com.
Now, as far as those station identifications, I think we can go ahead and just on those we can drop our social media and stuff. But like, if you got to us right now on 92kels.com, you did that deliberately,
Yeah, appreciate that
so
too.
you know what you listened to.
That might be true. However,
Everybody might be coming in for some jams.
it might be some folk in Timbuktu, Africa, don't know what they listening to right now.
They put in 92kels.com.
Hey,
And we
call it what
appreciate
you
them
want.
as well.
What
you know
is this
what
we are
I'm saying?
listening
What
to?
is
Shout
this?
out to my people.
What are they talking about?
Exactly.
My
So
friend Taco did not find that.
Oh, well, now we don't want to be offensive.
they know now. If you don't know, now you know.
Do you know that dude I was reading about Taco yesterday, and that fool actually thought he was gonna play soccer for somebody?
He should.
And so you wouldn't put him in your
All
goal?
right.
Yeah, no,
You wouldn't put him in your goal?
No, I wouldn't.
Eric
Because I need somebody who
not
can
even
move
that.
better.
Eric Crouch doesn't move too fast, but he's playing.
Eric Crouch.
Eric Crouch.
Oh, no.
7 foot.
No.
7 foot.
He's talking about, that wasn't Eric Crouch. Eric Crouch played.
Peter
Crouch.
Crouch.
I'm sorry.
He's 6'8".
Yeah.
He's 7 foot.
No, Peter
Hey,
Crouch
shoot
is
this
6'7".
Jay. Bust him with this
Peter
tray.
Crouch is out
that
there.
wasn't a foul?
Are you serious? Okay, miss layup, then a miss tip in, and then a win for Duke. Duke wins and goes on. Taco with a dunk. Taco fouled out. Johnny Dawkins.
I am. They gave it to him.
But Coach K made a deal with the devil. That ball was supposed to go.
Shout out
You see who the Central Florida coach is?
Yeah.
That's his boy.
That's the only reason it was this close. The only because everything Coach K has done has been since Johnny Dawkins. He knows it all, brother.
Wow.
He probably knows where the skeletons is at.
He said he
Oh,
deals
that
with the
was
devil.
an
He
amazing
plays for.
finish.
He coaches the Blue Devils.
Man, that tip though, that tip should have went.
That's
Oh, look at that. Give me that ball, boy.
And again, that boy didn't get a rebound. Number one, he's a terrible rebound.
Shout out to Duke.
You brought up skeletons.
Shout out to Duke, and there ain't none.
We also
Shout
talked
out
about
to
this
Duke.
before the show.
Johnny Dawkins got them all.
And we were saying, how is it that Coach K manages
That
to
boy was flying though, 15.
never get in trouble
Give me that mother.
for any of the things that he is?
Wait. First off, tell me what he's done that he has not gotten in trouble for.
Yeah.
Because that statement right there was slander in its own self.
No, it's not slander.
He could have done a lot of stuff.
No, he could have. That's not what he said. He said he never gets in trouble for the things that he's done.
Yeah.
What do
For
you
the
do?
things he's done. I didn't say he did
The
anything
same
wrong.
thing
I said for the
that
things that
other
he's
coaches
done.
do.
That ain't slander yet. You ain't even let me
The man
finish.
ain't done nothing.
The same thing that other coaches do.
You ain't even let
How
me
do you
finish
know
yet.
that?
You
Okay,
ain't even
I'm
let me
sorry.
finish
I'll,
yet.
Go ahead, finish.
Good Lord. That's what I was
y'all
going to
making me
say.
defend Duke. This is horrible.
It's
First,
okay.
you didn't even let me finish my statement.
Come on.
Because what I was getting ready to say
And
is,
it's a question. It's not a statement.
it is evident that he has changed his approach towards getting recruits, right? So now that he is able to get the one and done players, the high tier players, the players that he no longer, that he originally did not want to be involved with, he didn't want in his program. Now that he is able to get those players, he's getting the same players that other programs are trying to recruit, but they still manage to get it. They have been in all kind of investigations and all of these things. How is it that Duke continues to be squeaky clean?
Okay, first
Thanks for
off,
changing your question.
hold on. Yeah, exactly. Hold on. But first off, and I hate that you're making me defend Duke, but
You don't have to defend Duke, just state the truth.
the number one thing is he's always had players that were good enough to be one and done.
They
He just
stayed.
didn't. They just stayed
Man,
because they were. You talking
I
about
heard it was covered.
Grant Hill could have been a one and done player.
I heard it was covered.
Not after his freshman year, no.
Yeah.
Watch your mind. Y'all don't remember Grant Hill as a
Christian
freshman?
Laettner could have been a one and done.
Not as a freshman, no.
Not in 91, no.
Y'all don't remember that blowout with UNLV? That was because they were too young and they weren't good enough.
You go
Yeah,
to the
as a
league
collective.
when you're too young and not good enough
Yeah.
still.
No.
That's the point.
Zion Williamson is not too young and not good enough. That boy is more talented than a lot of players.
And when
in
he
the NBA.
walked, no, he will
What
not
national
be.
championship did Ben Simmons win?
Nothing.
How far did he go?
Ben
in the
Simmons was
NCAA?
better than a lot
He
of
lost
players.
first round, if I'm
Ben
not
Simmons
mistaken.
was
Okay.
better than a lot of players in the NBA.
Okay, I'm just asking.
It's the reason
As
he
far as
went
these
number
one and done
one.
guys.
Christian Laettner could not have gone number. He could not have been one and done as a
How
freshman.
far did Lamar Odom go in the tournament?
Pretty far.
He had
No, not that road out.
Once
How
again,
far?
he
How
was
far?
another one. He was another one that was good enough.
But that was 'cause
He
of
was
Jim
another
Harris.
one that was good enough. Christian Laettner was not good enough as a freshman. He wasn't. He was not.
Beg the difference.
Christian
I agree to
Laettner
disagree.
Christian Laettner wasn't even. He didn't play it.
Christian Laettner wasn't better than Shaq.
He didn't have to be better than
What-
Shaq.
what-
He
okay,
just had to
what
be
kind
good
of
enough to be
statement is
drafted.
that?
So what I'm
Christian
saying
Laettner
is,
wasn't better
so
than
what I'm
Shaq.
saying is,
It's no line, too.
they came out at the same time, right?
I don't think
Okay.
Christian Laettner.
They
played
came
as
out
a
at the same time.
Who did you?
Shaq
call
wasn't good enough
the
as
greatest college basketball
Shaq
player?
wasn't good enough as a freshman. So how was it that Christian Laettner was?
You're gonna tell me that Shaq could not have been legitimately drafted into the NBA as a freshman? Is that what you're gonna after his freshman year?
No, what I'm saying is the reason he didn't was because he wasn't good
No,
enough.
wasn't
No,
good
the
enough for
reason
he
his
did-
standards and the NBA standards are two totally different things. Wanting to stay in school and
No,
being able to
no.
leave
In the
for
1990s,
Hold on.
the standard for drafting players is not the same
Hold
as
on.
now.
On
Shaq could have came out of high
On
school.
Shaq.
Shaq had to go to school. His
On
dad made him go to
and
school.
everybody had to.
Yes.
On Shaq, the reason why
At
he
that
wasn't
point.
good enough.
No, first off, everybody.
Stanley Roberts was there when Shaq got there.
Stanley Roberts
At LSU.
You're right.
He learned everything.
Another NBA player
Exactly.
who ate his way out of the
Christian
league.
Laettner, man, y'all not gonna sit here and rewrite history and make Christian Laettner look better than he was as a freshman.
But
He
you're
wasn't
not
good
going to tell
enough.
me that Duke hasn't always had players that could go.
That's
win
not
it.
what you said. You said you acted like they didn't have players that weren't good enough at that time. They didn't.
Yes, they did.
No, they did not.
Yeah, they did.
Danny Ferry was not good enough. Christian Laettner wasn't good enough.
What do you mean good enough, bro?
They weren't good enough to be one and done players.
Nobody was doing one and done back then. That's why people did.
No,
Now everybody
that's not
is.
what you said. You said you're acting like they weren't good enough. They
And
weren't
I'm
good
going to
enough.
tell you,
Right.
the
So you're
worst
acting like-
team in the NBA would have benefited themselves from drafting Christian Laettner after his freshman year. That is a factual statement.
Christian
after
Laettner,
seeing what Christian Laettner turned into.
Yes, what he turned into, meaning 3 years later.
But he was going to turn into that, especially if this
He
is
wasn't
your
that
job.
as a freshman. You said you act like they weren't that good as they couldn't have been one and done.
You're not hearing
But
me.
very
You're
few
not
of these
hearing
one
me.
and done
What I'm
even now
saying
are.
is that I'm not saying he would have been after his freshman year would have came in and been an all-star.
What was your
What
statement?
I'm saying is that he would have been good enough to been drafted after his first year.
And I'm telling you,
that he would have been one of the top 60-something teams, 60-something
You're
out of
players
your mind.
in the
I
world at
agree.
that point in time.
And you're out of your
Who are you talking
mind.
about?
Christian
That's
Laettner
why he was
wasn't
on
that
the
good as a
United
freshman.
States Olympic team.
As
He
a
was one of
senior.
the top whatevers
As a senior.
Wait, who
in college.
Who
As
talking
a
about?
senior.
And was still competing with Hall of Famers.
Who-
As a senior,
Well,
not as a
honestly,
freshman.
Who-
Okay, development happens. Coach K,
One and done is
He's
freshman,
developed
right?
this man.
One and done is freshman, right?
Christian
Correct.
Somehow we got just on Christian Laettner.
I was
What
gonna
I
say,
said
the
is
greatest
you're
college
acting
basketball
as if-
player since-
You're asking.
I was kind of
You're acting
cool.
as
Bill
if
Walton.
Duke did not already have players.
Because
that could've
Christian
been
Laettner,
there.
Christian
All I said
Laettner,
was he was
And then
Christian
you bring up
team.
Christian Laettner.
because Christian Laettner is considered the greatest Duke Devil of all time, correct?
All I said.
I wouldn't call him that, but
That's
okay.
So who's the greatest Duke Devil of all time?
Grant
Please
Hill.
explain.
Grant Hill. I'll give Grant Hill.
Grant Hill. Okay,
It
that's
would
fine.
be
And I
Grant
said
Hill
maybe
or
Grant
Christian
Hill,
Laettner.
maybe Grant Hill.
Johnny Dawkins might be, but that would be a little bit.
They call him the most.
In my
important.
opinion, yeah, most influential. In my opinion,
To a
it's
Tommy
J
Hammer.
Dub.
Who?
It's
Tommy
J Dub
Hammer.
by far.
Jason Williams.
It's J
Yeah, he was
Dub
bad
by
for it.
far,
No.
hands
He just
down,
like
the
motorcycles.
best player that has ever come through Duke
What
that
about
I
Elton
have
Brand,
been
though?
blessed enough to see.
And
Elton
Jason
Brand
Williams.
is top 3.
If you say Jay Williams, then I would say no.
What about
Kyrie
as a
Irving.
player at Duke? I mean, Elton
Kyrie
Brand.
Irving then.
Elton Brand was one and done.
You can't spit on him either.
Elton Brand was one and done.
So is Kyrie Irving.
Okay.
Elton Brand was one
That
and
whole team
done.
was one and done.
Okay,
So
hold on,
William
hold on.
Avery was one and done. Was he good enough in your opinion to be one and done?
So is Corey McGetty.
Yes, you don't remember what
Yes.
Raven did in the league? You don't remember what Corey McGetty did in the league?
I didn't say
McGetty
Corey
played
McGetty.
well.
Corey McGetty
That's
by
my
far
point. The
was
ones
one.
who were good enough did it. The ones who weren't didn't.
Well,
That was
no,
after the
nobody
one-and-done
was
trend.
doing
Hey,
that then.
Remind
You could not go to that school and
Remind
leave
me.
after a year.
That's
That was
what
the
we talking
rule.
about. We talking about the years when they won.
in the league then.
Corey
Corey
McGetty was a
McGetty
highlight
Wait,
machine.
wait.
for
You're
the
not gonna be
Corey
disrespectful.
McGetty was the only reason people paid money to go see
I'm like a
him.
boss. I'm not a Duke fan, but you're not gonna be disrespectful.
Whatever.
I'm not gonna.
Corey
I can't
McGetty
stand the fact that I got to defend him from time to time. either.
Lamar Odom.
But
If you can play 5 years in the NBA, you a bad motor scooter, bro. I'm sorry. If you can play 2 years in the
Wait,
NBA,
okay.
I
Are you
just-
saying
2 years.
Wait, are you saying getting significant minutes, or are you just saying being in the NBA?
both. But
You
getting
won't just
significant
stay
minutes,
in the
you're top.
NBA with no minutes.
0% of 0%. If you get
Well,
minutes.
If you just never can play on any team, you will not stay in the NBA. You will be shipped down to the
What are you
NBDL.
talking about? Look, dude,
Well,
we
now,
just
there's
went through
several
all
players
these
who
Duke
do
players. We just went through
there
all
are
these
several
Duke
players who do
Listen
that.
to what
who
I
stay in
said.
there.
I didn't say those who are not valuable members of the rotation.
Oh,
I
you
didn't.
said-
I said those who get no minutes. He said the ones who just sit on the end of the bench.
There's several players who do that. Several.
There are several players, and they will
Several
not do that for
players.
10
And there's
years
a
in a
reason why
row.
they're in the league. You remember years ago we used to watch that
Is there a
and
professional
show,
teammates?
Yes,
and
absolutely.
the one dude who, what was his name? He could only dunk, but he was like, "Yo, somebody put me on the team, yo."
Half man, half
Yeah,
man.
nah, not him. It was the
about
other
50.
guy.
No,
I'll
not
put
50.
I'll put people
It was
in the
the
seats,
other.
yo, and then
The
right
one with the
from
high point?
No.
yeah, one that went to high
Yeah, that's
point.
50.
I give you 50.
Yeah, 50.
50.
Yeah, he can jump 50.
50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you saw, they had it on the camera, they had Ray for Austin just sitting there just shaking his head
Like,
like,
if
bro,
only he knew.
you don't get it.
If only he knew, bro.
It doesn't matter that you can catch an alley. I'll sit on the end of the bench. Me too. Any of us would.
Absolutely. I'm not. Wait. I told you. Let me
But you
clarify
have to
that.
earn your spot on the end of the
I'm not being dismissive
Top
about
1% or
anybody
1%.
who has been in the NBA.
Sounds like you're being highly dismissive
No,
because at the end.
at the same time, there's still certain things that you can state. Now, if you got, of course, if you have made it to the NBA, that means that yes, you play at a quality or at a level that many folks cannot.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are not one of the good players in the NBA, you can sit there and say maybe you shouldn't be there.
No, but yeah.
Because you're basing it on the level that they play on. The
Yeah,
same way
exactly.
if I'm basing somebody on the level that they play on.
Hold on. Okay. I'm glad you said
Yeah.
that. You're at the end of the bench, right?
Time out.
Hold on.
No.
Okay.
My bad,
I'ma keep
Jennifer. We're having some technical difficulties with some of our cameras, so I can't show everybody that's on the camera during this debate right now.
Sorry.
So
But
you
tune
just
in after
gotta-
the
you
show.
just get my beautiful face.
We on
actually.
this one.
Well-
you know what I'm saying? You'll catch us on YouTube.
Yeah, please catch us on YouTube.
This is on YouTube.
We on
You will
live
see-
right now.
You will
Yeah.
see great action.
But check this
of this
out, though.
debate.
What you said, okay? The guy at the end of the bench. That is the most competitive spot on the team.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that guy who's on the end of the bench,
What,
his
for the
job
pros?
is always in jeopardy.
For the pros?
Always.
You said for the pros?
Because everybody's gunning for his spot.
Right.
Okay, so if you can last on the end of the bench, you're a bad boy. Because you hold off all those people that want to sit on the end
Or
of the
you're
bench.
extremely cheap.
Here's
No,
what
it's not just that.
Here's my
Because
thing.
after a certain while, after you've been in
You're
there
not
long
cheap
enough,
anymore.
you're not cheap. Even with your veterans minimum is not cheap.
After 10 days, you ain't cheap.
My thing is this. Everybody can't be whipped, okay? So, obviously, as the dude said, there's different levels to this, okay? My point is that dude at the end of the bench, if he was to play anyone else that is a step below or to the side of him, he's killing them. He's killing them. That's what I'm saying. If this dude at the end of the bench is going and playing against the third best, second best player over in Europe, he's killing them. He's killing them. Maybe not the first best
That's
player,
agreed, but that's not
but
what
he's
we were
killing
saying.
them. But that is
What me and Gamal are saying is, based on the level of play that you play on, if you're sitting on the bench and not getting significant minutes because you're not good enough to play,
Oh well, yes.
you're not good enough to play.
Oh well, then we obviously agree. There's levels of talent.
That's what y'all didn't hear what we said. That's what
But
you
you
know what I'm
know
saying.
that. Okay, I don't
That's why I
see
just
that
kept
was a
saying.
statement. I'm sorry.
That's why we kept saying.
I was just
We're
saying.
not saying that, of course, being in the NBA, of course you have, by far, you have to be one of the greatest players in the world.
I mean, yeah, but we digress. I was saying, though, as a coach, this man does almost the same thing as other coaches.
You don't
how
know.
is it
You
that he
don't
stays
know.
squeaky clean?
How
How
does
do
he?
you know?
You don't know what
How
he
does he-
does.
how
So
does
what is he doing
Because
different? What is he
he's the
doing
US
different that is getting
basketball
them?
coach. He coaches
Time out.
US
Wait.
basketball.
What is he doing that is getting them that the other coaches are not able to do? But then when they do them, they seem to get in trouble for it, and he doesn't.
Well, for one, he's at Duke, which is a place people want to go.
Want to go?
You have people like him and people like the brother we met at Fight Night the 409, who've been Duke fans since they was 12.
They don't want to go. They don't want to go to Kentucky.
No, they want
I
to
do
go to
not.
Duke.
They want to
We have people that strive
Tyler
to
doesn't
wanna
go to
Duke.
Kentucky?
Yes, they do.
So why is it Kentucky keep getting in trouble for recruiting?
Because
Tyler
he-
Perry is filthy, and he's been filthy everywhere he's gone. He
Exactly
only
my
goes one way
point.
to
So
the
what
next.
is he doing that is keeping? So what is he doing that is so vile and so opposite of Duke?
Let me ask a question.
Because
Let me just
his
ask you a
players aren't
question.
graduating.
Let me ask you a question. Okay.
Duke
Let's
players
say,
aren't graduating.
let's say I continuously rob banks. Okay. Would it be fair for me to walk up to you and say, "Why have you not been caught robbing a bank since you kick it with DRC and it's known all he does is rob banks?"
Yeah, if I'm robbing banks.
That's a fair point.
Exactly.
Yeah,
But if
you're
I'm
not
not
robbing
robbing
banks.
banks, then get the hell out of my face,
But
right?
because you're not gonna sit here and tell me Coach K ain't doing
That's
nothing.
exactly what I'm
Okay,
telling you.
number
Until you show me the mugshot, he's not robbing banks.
Hold on. I'll give you one thing that may kind of
So him and-
preclude him.
How
from
all
doing
his
a lot of
players
things.
seem to be coming out with these 3-year degrees, but they ain't graduating.
So him.
North Carolina done got in trouble with an academic scandal.
Well, Duke
they
got-
getting the same players Duke getting.
No, Duke.
they're not
Kentucky
getting
done got in
the
trouble.
players Duke
Arizona
getting.
done got in trouble.
Actually,
All
If
these
you're going to
all
North
these
Carolina, you
programs
don't
done got in
think about
trouble.
Duke. And vice versa.
Yeah, they're not getting the same.
That's two
players
totally
as
different
Duke.
types of players.
North Carolina
Well,
players
we don't
actually
even
play.
want that type of play. Or Zion, he would have wanted. You know?
North Carolina players actually play in the pros.
So
Oh my God, we just
Come
bring
on,
off
stop
the
it.
list.
Up
Look
until
that list
recently,
up. I'll look
you're
that
right.
list up for you. Don't worry. Let me look that one
No,
up.
they still play.
Within the past
Anyway.
5 years, they have put several players in the league. Yes, but 5 years ago, they weren't putting people in the league. They weren't. They weren't.
Don't forget about Deshaun Mays.
They weren't.
Ha!
They weren't
Anyway.
putting them in the league 5 years ago.
Anyway, look, hold on. I think that part of the reason that Coach K probably hasn't gotten into trouble and it's harder for him to get into trouble is because Duke actually does have academic standards. Now, I'm not saying that the basketball players are equivalent with Ming Lee in the engineering department, but they are the cream of the crop.
Y'all
basketball
players.
Y'all
guys ain't me and Greg Oak.
Okay.
We just wanted that to skate out.
I'm just
We
saying.
had to let that go.
But as far as
He
basketball
definitely
players
tiptoes
go,
the line. He not only he almost pisses over the line. He is quite.
We were
quite,
trying to
quite
let that
as far as basketball players go, okay, they're up there.
What are you talking
Okay,
about?
as far as brains.
How?
Because
Jaleel
they have to be able to get into Duke.
Jaleel Okafor got in fights.
So
You
what?
can fight and still make a scene?
But he didn't.
They lacrosse team rape girls. Allegedly.
No, actually that was
Allegedly.
unfactual.
Actually,
Actually,
that-
found
no,
out it's
hey,
completely
but
that story was
fabricated.
unfounded.
No, but
Well, there were quite a few things
No.
covered up in that.
no. But time out. That's a good segue. though.
Smaller list.
Their lacrosse team did the same thing Louisville did.
Exactly.
Louisville what did?
Basketball team.
With the
And they
with the
got
keeping
Rick
women and
Pitino
all of that
fired.
stuff.
No.
Okay, hold on,
They
hold
were
on. No,
found.
no, no, Louisville
to
got in
be
trouble.
acquitted. Rick Pitino
No,
was
I didn't
caught
say-
having sex on the
No,
table.
No, I'm not saying no.
That's
Listen,
not, that was two different
listen,
situations.
No, they didn't say, I'm not talking about them raping girls. I'm talking they still hired those sex workers.
Yes, the individual
Because
players,
Hey,
once they were at Duke, hired girls to come dance at their party.
Exactly.
They were
Louisville-
already there.
Louisville's recruiting people were getting
High
women
schoolers.
for the high school recruits. That's a
No,
completely
you
different
can't
thing.
tell
They're not- That's what
That's
they
a
were
completely
there
different
for.
So they weren't doing that in high
And
school.
one
for lacrosse women
Man,
doing that.
ain't nobody spending no
You
money
don't think
recruiting no lacrosse players.
Duke, wait, and
What?
wait.
The national
Assuming,
championships,
bro.
hey,
Like you
they're
can't
not.
just assume that
They're
though.
not, because
Hey,
they-
you don't know
didn't make
that.
a dime off winning that
Time
national
out.
championship.
Time out.
ESPN paid $1.75 for them rights.
Time out. And we see this boy Zion.
We could have advertised in the
We see this boy Zion getting caught on Snapchat with all these other girls.
All
So
I'm
you're-
gonna say
so
is
you're
it's
telling
gonna
me
happen eventually.
recruiting wise,
Let's
they
hope so.
didn't do that?
Zion
Let's
Williams
hope
is
so.
being a college student with
No,
very,
okay.
very poor
So high school,
decision making.
high school,
No,
high
let me
school
get on
recruiting trip,
Zion
they'd be
Williams.
like, say,
Zion Williamson got the
I
weakest
don't know
game.
what. I
We
don't
got-
know.
we got
Yeah,
Rebecca.
Oh my God.
weakest.
We
Not,
got
not
Rebecca.
basketball. We're talking here.
we got
Yeah.
Rebecca here.
Not basketball.
Where's his daddy?
Hey, let's switch it up.
He ain't got
Let's
no
switch it
game.
up. Let's switch it up. Let's switch it up.
Can I switch it
Fox
up?
wasn't
Like,
like,
coach,
Yeah,
take
go
the
ahead.
cell phone.
Rick
Can I
Fox
switch it up
wasn't
to
like,
something?
Brooklyn's in the house.
Okay. Who? Rick Fox.
Yeah.
Rick Fox was
Bro,
like
he got-
Hamilton, Ontario.
You talking about he got
Oh,
game?
Oh, he got game? Yeah, I know. But he did him dirty by hitting La La.
I'm saying that.
Anyway.
so if that wasn't happening, stop
Rick
playing.
Ross from Canada. They don't
Stop
Not
playing,
to
man.
do. You see, he didn't take a trip to do.
Yeah, he didn't.
Cause he tried. Hey,
Say what you want to
He
say.
tried to.
Say, yeah, exactly.
Go ahead, boy. What
That
you
was
got?
Big State had the whole story. But Big State. But
Oh,
look here,
God.
look here. What I wanted to segue to is another college basketball thing. We have a huge, okay, we got U of H tonight. We have a huge game tomorrow in the state of Texas, down in Edinburgh, Texas, at the RGV Center.
Man.
Texas Southern University will be playing against the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley.
Absolutely.
Okay, we're going to support them. You can watch that game on
Who's this?
collegeinsider.com. It's
Who's
a
this?
collegeinsider.com
Because
tournament.
TSU is going for a third postseason victory in 2
Yes.
years.
Mason.
A third postseason. They actually
Let's go,
beat
y'all.
A postseason
The-
victory or a tournament win?
a postseason.
I mean, a
victory.
tournament
I'm saying a
championship.
postseason.
No, postseason victory.
Like just a win.
Yeah,
then
just a win.
Okay,
Just a win.
okay.
Just a win.
Unless you count the conference championship. Do you count those?
That's
I guess you can
postseason
count that,
technically,
but
yes.
that's-
They won that
postseason.
though.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't win it. They won games in it this
Yeah,
year.
I mean, but they ain't win that though.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So
But no,
yes,
that-
they
CollegeInsider.com.
they beat the Southland Conference runner-up in the University of New Orleans last week
Yeah.
in New Orleans.
Man, shout out to UNO.
Yeah, you know.
And now they're
You know about that garage
traveling to
apartment?
UT Rio Grande Valley.
Yeah, which sucks that they have to travel.
Well, I know what that's about.
We all know what that's about. But that sucks
TSU
they
ain't
have to
paying
travel.
that $40,000
I ain't
to host
paying
that
that
game.
one, man.
Not to host that
Oh
game.
yeah, College Insider.
Yeah, you gotta
Yeah,
pay.
you gotta pay. They not paying that
You're
$40,000.
right.
Host
You're
the
right.
five.
They
I'm
paying
not
the
paying
five.
the $5.
You're right, man. 5% a little steep, man.
5 cents. It's not a movie.
Yeah, they probably not paying.
$500. That's a lot of money.
We talking
We
$5.
talking $5.
But it's $228.
Nobody knows what I'm talking about.
I went out and closed my butt off for $5. I don't like how the barrage is coming at me.
Well, look here. This man got pictures on stick. Now, wait, this man got hamburgers. This man got hamburgers.
Hey, that boy Killer say shout out to Christian James for Oklahoma Sooners.
Okay, yeah.
He's from third.
Yeah, he from the hood.
And he went to
showed
Bel
it.
Air.
We was talking about him in the barbershop
Did he
set.
go to Bel Air?
Friday.
Yeah, he went to Bel Air.
Yeah, see, that's the part that
Right,
makes me
perfect.
angry. You see that fool is straight out the hood, but he go cross town.
Really?
He go cross town.
Really?
What you talking
That
about?
makes you mad?
He stayed
Yeah,
there his
that
whole
made me
life,
mad.
man.
Where your sons go?
First off, my children are not from the hood.
You from the hood.
I brought them. I
Straight
moved
from the
up.
mud. You straight from the mud.
My babies are not cut like me.
They got to be cut.
That's a little too tough, man. That's, you know.
They can do their own cutting.
There
They
were
got
certain
to be cut
things
like
they
that.
got to navigate there that I don't know if they ready. Have you met their mama? They mama so green.
He said, have you met
If it
your
wasn't
mama?
for me, I'm not sure she'd have made it through.
Hey, ask the funky where.
I love you,
I was
baby.
gonna say,
I love you, baby.
Where did you see her at? Where did she at?
Where'd you meet her?
In the hallways of J.
Yeah,
Watt,
right in
baby.
the middle of it.
This is a brand new J.
That's my queen.
This is a brand new J.
The
Y'all
glue
not even-
that keeps my life
Y'all not
together.
even red and crimson, man. Y'all red and white.
I love me some. Oh, she may not want me to say her name. I love me some of her hot dog. Wow. So now we got 5 minutes left.
Well, we took that. We took up a good 30 seconds.
I did want to get into some NBA, man, because again, Golden State was embarrassed by the Dallas Mavericks last
And
night.
James Harden was
Yeah,
exceptional.
And there you go. James Harden dropped 61, and the Rockets are playing right now as we speak.
Yes, they are.
Career
James
high
Harden dropped
20.
61.
They're
to
about
beat the
20 on the
Spurs.
Pelicans.
They up by 20. Is Anthony Davis playing?
He won't be playing in the second half. It's okay.
He's still on minutes restriction.
He's literally just minutes restriction.
He's like, man, I wish I played with
What
Bro.
is it? He got to play 21.
The minute what's the opposite of minute restriction? He's only playing because they're making him
I
play.
say involuntary
Slavery.
minute.
Slavery. Like,
Due to contractual.
Dude, that's just weird, man.
Gotta play, they gotta pay, man. So hey, you gonna play your 5 minutes?
Hey, but
maybe
didn't they
8
make that
minutes? rule?
rule? Didn't they put that in writing though in the NBA though? You gotta play a certain.
No,
I would say he
has to
He
play.
has to do 20. What is it? 21 or 25?
Unless it's all he has to do is pull a hamstring every week though.
Didn't
But
Stern do that?
It's 25 or
No,
28 or
this is
something.
Adam
No, this is
Silver,
new. This
This
is
is
because of
that-
LeBron and Wade and Wade.
Yeah, this was
resting.
that Greg Popovich.
Nah, that
You
was
can't
Popovich.
keep. Yeah, you can't keep
Popovich.
sitting your stars.
But he was doing it for 15 years and they wasn't doing nothing.
Nah, they weren't. But
Now all of a
people were
sudden,
like, yo,
LeBron and them start sitting and that's a problem.
Nah, but people
that's-
were like, yo, we're Minnesota fans and we only buy tickets when the Spurs come.
That's
And
exactly.
we paid $80 for these damn tickets.
Nah.
Hey, you got the nerve to say all
And
three
you
of
got
them
the
not
nerve to say
playing?
Tim Duncan,
Hey,
Tony Parker, and Manu Ginobili.
Not even
You
that.
crazy?
Pop would sit down. The Admiral.
He would sit everybody down. He didn't care.
Admiral. He'd sit down. Ginobili. He'd sit down.
Tim
Tim
Duncan,
Duncan. He'd sit down.
everybody,
First five. Sit down.
And a lot of these
And pull out a
NBA
dub.
cities fans only buy tickets when the big boys come
Yeah,
to town.
absolutely.
And pull out a dub because
Like
it's not
Utah.
even about that.
Absolutely.
Well, no, not Utah. Utah sells out, but like Atlanta,
Right.
okay, the Hawks,
The Hawks.
the
Utah gonna
the
be beat up.
Timberwolves, people like that.
Absolutely. So now, where do we go now?
Man.
We'd have been a little bit everywhere.
Duke goes
Hey.
on to the Sweet 16.
Let's do it. We gonna-
Draft is about to come up.
Which draft? Oh, yeah,
The NFL
the
draft.
NFL draft. All of that, huh?
Yep. NFL season's about to start again.
Justin Houston went to the Colts.
Baseball.
Not good for the Texans.
Baseball is starting up.
Baseball is Thursday.
The Texans ain't been doing nothing. Oh, what about Ichiro?
Ichiro go bye-bye.
I saw him this morning. I mean, not this morning, but Thursday morning. I saw that game early in the morning while dressing my son. It was cool. I mean,
Yeah.
I watched a little bit of it. I couldn't do it.
I would have made him play the whole game, though.
You would have made him?
Yeah, like say. I mean, you can get
Did he
this
play
thing.
the whole game?
Yeah, I know.
No, he came out seventh
Did you
inning.
see that throw he made though?
Pretty old,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah, but hey, you
he
played.
had one last throw.
You already quit.
warmed up.
That's
such a good man.
You can give it your all. This is all you got, huh?
You're not making the play drive back. You know what I'm saying?
I know.
So,
You can give it. You can
Oh,
give
you
it
said
your
he just
all.
left him in Japan?
Exactly. Just play the whole game. You know what I'm saying? Chill out. You know what I'm saying?
When is the draft?
So those of you
like
what,
25th, it starts Thursday.
Okay,
Okay,
25th.
for that.
It's after taxes. You know they gotta clear that first.
Right.
So yes, the NFL draft is April 25th. The NFL draft is in July. I mean the NBA draft is in July, which is
Baseball
around the
season's
corner.
the first.
I was just going to say the baseball season kicks off Thursday.
Yeah.
Is it already there?
It
Verlander
kicks off
got paid.
Thursday with, of course,
33 a
the
year.
Boston Red Sox
Boo.
The
playing.
New York Yankees.
No,
right?
actually.
Really? They didn't do the
Yeah.
Yankees Red
Is
Sox?
it the
They playing
Astros?
the Seattle Mariners.
Oh, wow.
I mean, the Seattle Mariners are already 0-2.
Why we want to see them faces?
Because it's the Boston Red Sox first home game. You gotta let them get their rings and unveil the banner and all of
The
this.
schedule maker should have taken that into consideration and not
Yeah.
done Seattle. That must have been the only time they could make it all the way
And
over
we'll
there.
probably have to talk about this later on our so far this week's show, but there's also been already controversy about some Mets players complaining about scheduling and traveling and
Mets are
contracts
babies.
and yeah, it's crazy. But
That's why they don't win.
we gotta leave it right there, man.
Holla.
Can I give a condolence out?
Quickly.
Yeah, heard.
Condolences out to the White family. Walter White was killed Saturday. He was the Lamar running
Walter
back.
White, Lamar running back?
Yeah, man.
What?
He was killed.
He was killed.
Oh my God.
Man, he was killed. That was like my
Yeah,
first
sorry,
taste of
man.
like Lamar life. Seeing him run the ball. He was a great running back for our district and our school. And
Oh
whatnot.
man.
So condolences to him and his
Condolences.
family.
Yeah.
Prayers go out and to that boy Gene Tenner. His mom died.
Yeah.
So prayers and condolences out to him and anybody else who's lost somebody.
Yeah.
Prayers and condolences out for y'all.
I was in the prom group for Walter White, man. That's crazy.
You ain't listening to the Garage Republic.
You still
Yeah.
are.
Hey, we still live though.
Yeah.
We holler back at y'all.
Yeah, we here every Sunday night from 6 to 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and check out our brand new website, thegarageapt.com.
The Garage
Y'all stay
APT.
blessed, man. Stay out of trouble. Be safe. We'll holler at you later on this week.
That boy Walter. Right by the old crib. Like right there on Buffalo Speedway.
Must have had my first taste of Lamar life.
Lamar like.
Before he shot They just shot him up. I don't know.
He's still in life.
Was he was in it? Yeah, I hope it wasn't.
Well, see, he could have. They don't really have too much details on it. But he was part of Wasp Nest. I didn't get on that. He was part of Wasp Nest.
What is that?
They cut off like half
The
the
rap
word and
group,
then I cut the word.
Big Steve.
Okay.
Little head from Persian /
Okay.
Man, that's fucked up.
But they not.
Man, y'all old, bro.
No, on the news they said he was.
current player.
I thought you were talking about the
But
dude from the
still,
shop.
that's close to me. You know
Walter
what I'm
White.
saying?
Yeah, me too.
What year is Walter White? That boy said his first taste of Lamar life. Like, so you
It
talking
was
about
like he was
93?
he was a senior when I was a freshman.
Yeah, when I was in the 10th grade, he was in the group we went to prom together.
No word?
Yeah, he was like 20.
Yeah, he was about that age.
He was with Tiffany Bradley.
Yes,
Winning.
yeah. Tiffany, I can see that.
They say I can see that.
Bradley, why know that
Tiffany
name from?
Bradley.
Tiffany, you probably saw her when she went to Persia with me.
Yeah, that motherfucker blew up. God, she still got that pretty face.
Yeah, she cool.
I knew she was gonna get.
Nikki.
Oh shit, we're still on.
Oh man.